I used to live in this small town. I'm not allowed to tell the name because if I do, I'll be in deep trouble. In this town, everyone knew each other, and everyone was friendly. There was never any trouble in this town. No robbers, no nothing. You name it, it will always be no. No, I love this town, until the accident. This town always had a strange rule. Don't ever go out after 6 p.m. Weird, right? When this took place, I was 12. I'm much older now and ready to talk about what happened. At 12, I was very curious. Maybe too curious. So me and two friends, Freddie and Richard, made a plan to go hide in the nearby woods and see what happens at 6. We all told our parents we were going to each other's house. Then there we were, 5:45 p.m. All the children were going back towards their houses, and the elders started entering also. We hid behind a rock that covered all three of us. We had a backpack filled with blankets, pillows, and snacks, and we all carried our own individual walkie-talkie. We sat there for a while, which felt like days. It started getting dark. I was on the left side, Freddie was in the middle, and Richard was on the other side of the rock. I felt comfy. I turned to look at Freddie. He had his eyes closed. I sat up and looked at Richard. He had a bag of chips in his hand and his face towards the sky with his mouth open. He was sleeping too. I looked over the rock to see if anything had happened. Nothing. Same old dark houses and dim streetlights. I then felt my head tip over as I fell asleep. I woke up to dirt on my face. I heard heavy breathing. I tilted to a position where I sat up with my back against the rock. I turned to Freddie. He was sitting up stiff. He looked as if he saw a ghost. He had dirt on his face too, but he had spots of blood on his face. I checked my phone. Time had passed. It was 1:37 a.m. That's when I realized something was wrong. I quickly realized, where's Richard? Freddie looked at me slowly with tears dripping down his face. He's gone, he said. Suddenly we heard a roar. We both got up and sprinted for Freddie's house. We started pounding on his door, crying and yelling. His mom answered the door quickly and threw us in the house. She yelled at us with all she had. Then his dad walked in the room. He stormed towards us. He yelled, "What happened?" The mother started explaining and he abruptly yelled, "Not you." Freddie said we wanted to see why we couldn't. He was cut short by his father slapping him across the face, which made him fall to the ground crying. His mother grabbed me by the arm and went to the guest room and threw me in. She then called my mother. She walked out of the room and shut the door behind her. I heard yelling and crying. Then it was just quiet, after I heard a door slam. I then realized the walkie-talkie on my belt. I remembered Freddie had one in his coat. I whispered, "Do you copy?" He replied, sniffling, "Yes." I asked what happened outside. He then told me how Richard woke him up crying and said, "Look." Then suddenly Richard just got dragged away incredibly fast. While he was yelling, he left a blood trail, which I guess explained the blood on Freddie's face. Then he suddenly went offline. The next day, my family started packing to move far from that place. I've never heard from Freddie ever since. Even when I look up the town, nothing comes up. I asked my sister if she remembered it, and she said she's not allowed to talk about it, and I didn't dare to ask my parents. That was my crazy experience with that town. I hope I never go back there, and I hope no one ever does. And I definitely hope no one ever experienced what we experienced. I've never heard from Freddie ever since, and I hope he's okay. Especially Richard. By what I heard, he's not.